Okay, Georgia have beaten Uruguay 33 points to 7. It was 12-7 at half time. Uruguay played themselves back in the match. The try by Villaseca by the Uruguayans was brilliant, but Tadoa try off scrumble, Giorgadze try scrumble, Chila Chikavea, I think that was off sustained pressure, keeping it tight with the forwards. Bergavadze, I think that was a counter ruck, the cheeky try, and Kladze. Look at that. Every single one of those tries has come from counter-rucking or scrummaging for the Georgians. That is brutal up front. They won the battle up front, and they won the game because of their dominant scrum and dominant forward pack. However, there was some sloppiness in retention of the ball. They were turned over a lot, and line-out was their weakness. That's how Uruguay scored off their line-out, and Uruguayans got a lot of their ball off Georgian line-out. So going forwards, if you look at and dissect the game, the Georgians will be worried about ball retention, being turned over, and line-out, and the Fijians will like getting turnover ball and running. And will Georgia, with a 4-day turnaround, be able to contain that? Because Uruguay have just had a 4-day turnaround after playing Fiji. Now, the Uruguayans managed to contain Fiji. Fiji had a short turnaround before playing Uruguay. This pool highlights the issues with short turnarounds, with giving, I wouldn't say strange results, but not allowing a team to fully recover to play a competitive match against the next team. Injuries are going to be sustained. Nations, especially Tier 2 and Tier 3 nations, have in the past said we're not getting the time to recover that we need for the next game to be competitive and actually put on our best performance. Now, Uruguay today, their scrum is their weakness, but it was accentuated by that lack of recovery time. They only made 2 changes for this game. They didn't make wholesale changes. They only made 2 enforced changes because of the Fiji game. The Villaseca try showed that they still have the capability to score, but apart from that, they were being beaten up. They were. If Georgia lose against Fiji, they're going to point out that they also have a 4-day turnaround, because that, even for the Georgians being a comfortable winning margin, there was still some big collisions. And for the last 20 minutes, Uruguay stuck in there and put in some big hits and didn't back down. And the Georgians couldn't get that 6th try. But by the end, both sets of players were absolutely out on their feet. The humidity is a big concern. A lot of the humidity has been a factor in games, with players struggling and cramping up after about 50-60 minutes. So that turnaround question and the shorter turnaround for teams has been highlighted before at previous World Cups. It will be highlighted again and complained about. And I do think it does put some teams at a certain disadvantage. Now, the Tier 1 nations, obviously having fully professional players, having more squad depth in the sense of talent, absolutely will affect them less. Some Tier 1 nations already have had these short turnarounds, and they have had to really rotate players and make a lot of changes. So it is a player welfare issue, and I'm going to stick with that. It'll be interesting to see what Georgia do against Fiji with the short turnaround. Uruguay beat Fiji after their short turnaround, so this Pool D is really interesting to look at that short turnaround and the effect it actually does have on teams. And each team that has lost so far has lost after having a short turnaround, especially Georgia, Uruguay and Fiji. So Georgia, it'll be interesting to see when they do play Fiji if the short turnaround affects them and if they win that game, and we'll see. But Georgia have to tighten up on ball retention, getting turned over on the floor, and line out, because the Fijians will have a lot of fun with the Georgians. And if the Georgians playing in that heat today don't fully recover, they are going to get blown out, because Fiji have had a nice little rest now and will be angry that they lost to Uruguay and that they didn't get a losing bonus point against Australia or even beat Australia. They are going to be up for it, and we'll see what happens. The Georgian pack, however, I think will have dominance in the scrum. It's the outside backs. The Georgian outside backs didn't get a lot of ball today, and they're going to be challenged physically and skillfully by the Fijians. So that's going to be an interesting one going forward. Uruguay, they've got their win in this World Cup. They play very well against Fiji, but I think the effects of these 2 games are going to... We could see some heavy defeats for Uruguay now going forward against Wales and Australia because of the short turnaround between those first 2 games and the brutality of Georgia's pack. We're going to see some lopsided results, I think. But either way, Georgia deserved the win. They were the better side. They adapted to conditions better, but they had the advantage of having a longer rest between their first game and their second game. And you have to look at that and go, this could be an issue going through the tournament pool stages and into the knockout stages. Teams will have these short turnarounds, even Tier 1 nations, and it has been raised by players as player welfare multiple times in previous World Cups. For all nations have said, we need to stop these short turnarounds, we need to schedule the games differently where it's fair for all teams. to get the best spectacle on the field. But there we go. I'm going to leave that there. Thank you very much for watching. Georgia deserved the win. That 4-pack is terrifying. We'll have some more videos for you soon.